Hey guys, this is Parky here, and today we're going to be looking at Escape from Tarkov, and more specifically, we're going to be looking at the customs map. This is going to be a run that I use in customs when I'm trying to make some money. Customs isn't the map I always run for money runs, but when I'm there, this is the direction I try and go in, and it's brought me success. This run, varying depending on what you find, the variant spawns, can make you anywhere from 150k to 400 to 500k if you're lucky, depending on what you get in the run itself. Before we jump into a run, and I'm going to run through some of the key locations in an offline run just to let you know where to go, show you the hot spots, and just make things clear. And then we will run a live run of the map, trying to go the same way, just to show you kind of what to expect when there are other PMCs in the area. Obviously, in an offline run, I can just run around willy-nilly, show you everything how I please, but realistically, when you're running through the map, you're not going to be able to be as reckless as I will be in the offline run, and I want to show that and make it clear. But anyway, before we get into actually running the map, we'll have a look at the map itself and just point out some key things. So here I have a pretty good map of customs. It shows locations for spawns, exfils. It shows specific item loot locations down the bottom here as well in the legend. But for what we're doing here, we're just going to circle some stuff. So ideally, for the run that I'm going to show you here, you want to be on the right hand side of the map at spawn. Now obviously you've got this one, this one, this one here, here as well, and any of the ones that spawn in this circle. These are kind of your sweet spots for the run that I'm going to do, because really what we're wanting to do is start on the right side of the map and work our way into the middle. In the end, we're mostly going to be trying to exfil on the X here, ZB1013. Now, of course, that does mean that the run I'm going to show you will require a factory exit key, but you can do this exact same run and then just pick a different exfil if you don't happen to have the key. The spawns, if we wipe this here, that you don't want... Ideally, if you're doing this run, you don't want to be spawning anywhere on this side of the map. It's just not practical for what we're wanting to do. If you spawn on this side of the map, your customs run isn't over by any means. Obviously, you have customs office you can hit if you have the key. If not, the yard itself has okay loot spawns in bags and loose spawns within some of the garages. But we're not wanting to run from this side. If you do spawn on this side of the map, but you're committed to doing the run, I would suggest trying to make your way over to this area of the side of the map. Make your way over here or across this land bridge and try to get yourself in up onto the road and into the machinery key area of the map. From here, you could essentially reverse the run, coming down through here and then passing through Old Gas Station, and then you get into this area. This area here is where we want to focus our attention. So if we clear this here, keeping that in mind, key points just to take note of is this building down here, specifically very good for loot. We tend to bypass this building on the run that I do. This building is key. A lot of good stuff can spawn in here, but this is also a contested area. In your live runs, this is where, on the run, you're going to have the highest chance of running into a PMC. Going on from there, you're going to hit this building. This building has a lot of good spawns that's loose loot, so it's very dependent. This building can make you a lot of money on the run, but only if the loose loot spawns where you need it to spawn. We also normally bypass this building on the run, You can hit the stash here if you want, but that's completely up to you. Beware in this area, though, that scavs and things can be here. We will always hit this building, not because of the loot so much. There is good loot to be had in this building, but we need to hit it because if we're extracting ZB1013, we need the power to be on, and we're not going to rely on someone else doing that for us. We're going to turn the power on as part of the run to make sure that it's ready for us to extract when we get there. Following on from that, when you pass through your gas station, you are going to hit the gas station if you get the opportunity. Again, this can be a high trafficked area. People from either side of the map trying to get to the side they want to be on. They tend to pass here because they don't like to pass the road, because bosses spawn at the road as well as a multitude of scavs. So be wary when you pass through here, but we are going to pass through here. The table on the gas station, which I'll show you in the run, can spawn most items in the game, so it's always worth having a look just in case something good happens to be on the table. Then following on from that, you're really just heading to 1013 from here. And when you get in here, depending on what's going on, because I warn you now, Boss Scav does spawn in this building along with his goons. And if they're there, you, depending on what kind of gear you brought in, you might not want to take that fight. And there's a way to get into the building if they are there that doesn't involve taking the fight, and I'll show you the way I go in that situation. But if it seems quiet, seems like there's no one else there, or it seems like there's someone there and you think you can take the fight because you want some more loot if you haven't gotten too good of a run from what you've done thus far in the raid, you can hit up the building. There's a lot of locations within this building that have some pretty good spawns as well, and I'll show you those as we go. And then obviously you're going to exfil from there. So we don't make use of a lot of the map in this run, and you'll notice that dorms, we're going nowhere near that because this is a relatively, besides 1013, this is a relatively safe run that you can make, and you can get relatively consistent money doing so with, you know, if you're running into dorms every raid that you go into customs, obviously if you've got a marked room key, you're going to have a chance at big loot, big money coming out of that room. But you're also going to be contending with all the other people that are coming in heavily geared, wanting to get in at that loot themselves, wanting to grab what they can and take the dorm's vehicle extract. And that's not what this run's about. You can take any gear in with you on this run. Hell, I can even run it with a pistol if need be. The main factor of the run is your bag. The bigger the bag that you have, the more loot you're going to get to take on the run that you find. I normally just run a scav backpack or a day bag when I do the run. But if you want something bigger, you can take an attack 2 or anything like that and really fill it with whatever you can. But the idea of this run isn't to find those 1 or 2 items that's worth a lot of rubles. The idea of the run is to find a lot of items that, when added together, make you decent profit. This isn't going to make you rich instantly, but it's going to healthily build your ruble count over time. So, now that we've had a look at the map and went over that, let's take ourselves into the game, and first and foremost we will do a offline run just so I can show you the key factors of the map, the things that you really want to be focusing on when you go in. So here we are, Escape from Tarkov. Now the run offline first. This is the kit that I typically take in. Of course, I have been doing runs like this for a while. I have a bit of money built up, 17 million at time of recording. So if you don't have the money to be taking in gear quite like this, the things I would prioritize from this is the backpack, one at least this size. You don't really want to be going smaller than this. The 6B3TM-01M, it's a tier 4 rig, if I inspect it here. Armor class 4, and it has the slots that we need for ammunition. Other loot that we get in here, if we find anything good and we happen to be full. Magazines are normally insured in my case anyway. I can drop these if I'm not coming into combat a lot to take good quality items out instead, and I'll get these back. Obviously these are just vanity, you don't need these. Helmet, really optional. A headset if you can afford it, I would recommend, just because when we're going into some of these buildings, you want to be able to hear if someone else is in there or if someone else has come in while you're looting. The headset just makes that easier, so it's always a big recommend. Like I said, this run can be done with a pistol. You're not coming into the map looking for engagements. You don't want to be using your weapon if you can avoid it. It's just going to draw attention. I take in the VSS in all my runs. It's just my gun of choice, so I'll be taking that in this case here. Meds in my container and meds in my pocket. Again, this is entirely up to you, but if you do come into contact with a PMC or a scav and a bleed happens, it's always good to have bandages or hemostats to hand. So even when you're budget running, I recommend taking meds. So now that we've got all that out of the way, let's go in as a PMC to customs. I would typically run customs during the day. I run a lot of other maps at night, but customs is just one that I've always ran during the day. We're going to set this to offline just so that we can show you exactly what. Okay, so here we are. We're into the raid at this point. Offline raid, remember. But we've spawned up next to the radio tower up near the top of the map. So this is actually one of the spawns that we said we were looking for when we were referring to the map. And over in this direction, that's dorms. Now, on a run like this, depending on what gear you've brought in, if you've brought in decent armor, decent gear, a good gun, you might want to forgo this loot run in a situation like this and make a beeline for dorms if you have the marked room key, because this is a very good spawn for going for something like that. Obviously, in this run, we're not doing that. If you spawn up here, keep in mind that there's a stash here that you can loot. It's normally worth hitting. Just be aware that there can be PMCs from further to this direction making their way to dorms as well, so you don't want to hang around too long, but if you can loot it quickly and get out of the way, I would advise it. Now, I would typically head down in this direction around the far end of the train, because if we hug the wall in this area of the map in a live run, like I said, you're probably going to run into PMCs who think they might have a chance at dorms. So if we run along this way, we're less likely to encounter them, but we can sometimes put ourselves in the firing line of the boss scav if he happens to have spawned in on the road. So just be careful how close you get to the road and how quickly you do that. Once you're over here, hopefully you'll be okay in terms of PMC spawns, unless they've also headed around this way. So still keep it in mind that they could be about. I jump over the wall here, and scavs can also spawn in the tower to a military checkpoint here. Again, this is another room. If you happen to have brought the key with you, then I would advise hitting it up. I have the key with me, but again, you don't need keys to do this run. The only key that I advise taking is the factory key, factory exit key for the extract at 1013. These are just bonuses that if you happen to want to stop off along the way, you can. So I would normally come in here and loot these boxes. Now, some people will take everything until they're full and then start exchanging items for better items that they find along the way, and that's totally a fine way to do things. I would advise it if you're just looking for a lot of money in any way. Small items that aren't worth a lot is still Roubles if you're running low. I personally don't do it at this stage. So we've got a pistol there, that's good. That box is always worth checking. You can get weapons in there or other good things. If we head up here now, we're going to cross through here. Now, this building is the one I said you're probably going to run into other PMCs. That's this one. I'm not going to go directly into this one. I'm going to head this way first and hit up the far corner room, and that will set us up to just go on a linear path. So this is the way I would normally do it. Once you're in here, you're going to want to check on top of here things can spawn, or just down the side, so around about here. Heading into this back room, this area here next to the box can spawn a multitude of different things. You can get gas, relays, a lot of stuff spawns there. Having a look in here, technical stuff. So some of the things I'm picking up, depending on how far through a wipe you're watching the video, you might look at it and think, well, they're not worth a lot. Things do vary in price, so when you're doing the run, I always recommend trying to keep in mind what is valuable at the time on the flea market. Things can spawn here or just below the stairs. Coming up here, some people will only loot loose loot and won't open the containers to these areas as well, depending on how quickly they're wanting to do these runs. But I'm going to open the containers here just to show you like all the things that you could potentially come across. Obviously, all the spawn locations aren't going to come up in this run, but hopefully plenty of them do. It's always worth checking computers as well, because there's a very low but still a chance the graphics card could spawn in it. And at the time of recording in this wipe, we are actually at a stage where electronic items are worth a decent amount on the flea. So definitely worth checking at this stage. Jacket's always worth checking as well. You never know, you might get a good key. Keys are worth a lot, or worth keeping. So if we head down here, on top of this box here is a loose spawn. There's a lot of different things that can spawn there, and then there's actually a little case down here. So there's more grenades. Grenades are worth a decent amount on the flea, but if on your run you happen to find that you need to use them, I would just use them. I forgo this building on the run typically. There's not that much loot in it, and it's normally not worth my time. I have heard that the Red Rebel ice pick can spawn in the building though, so keep that in mind if you are trying your best to try and get hold of one of those. It may be worth a look. I, however, would typically come over here to this door, as this enters you into one of the top floors of the building without having to come through the main open plan area. So you've got loose loot in here. Looks like we've got ammunition and a Slickers bar in this. And there's also a spawn here for cigarettes. We're not going to take them with us. Always check in here. This is one of your good loot spawns. So you've got something on the bed there that can spawn cigarettes in this case. A golden Rolex can spawn on the wrist of this mannequin. Now if you get that out, that's a lot of money on your run right there just for that single item. And always remember to check this back area here as well. You can get loose spawns such as gold chains, chainlets, other things can spawn behind the mannequin. So don't just check the wrist, make sure you look behind it as well. Moving on into this room, you can get weapon parts, a decent amount in here. We've got metal cutting scissors on the shelves here. This box here is lootable. As you can see, we're kind of starting to fill up. So weapon parts can be a hit or a miss. You can know which ones, if you look into it first, are worth the money. Some are worth a lot and some are worth pennies. Like, it really is quite volatile in terms of what sells well. So I don't like to always take them unless it's something I know sells well. This, for example, any skeletonized weapon part normally sells pretty well. So I'll take that. On this table, things can spawn. Things can spawn on this table as well. There we have a weapons part. On this table here as well, weapon part. There we go. There's a magazine there, and there is an ADAR piece there as well. Back shelves here, there can be items. Doesn't look like we have any in our case, but make sure to check the shelves in the room before you leave. Moving into this room, you have more jackets. Food can spawn in here as well on the stool, and I believe on the table as well. Both stools can have food. So nothing in that one. More screw nuts, more cigarettes. So I don't think that ammo is worth much, so we'll take the screw nuts. Right. Now, this open area here is where you might find when you first start doing the run and you're not used to timings and when people might be coming in, you might end up in combat in this room on a live run. A lot of people want to hit up this building, and most of them come through this door, or they come through that door there. Not as many people use the back door that we came in through, but it's this main area where you're going to end up in stalemate fights where you might be stuck up in one of these rooms trying to get out. Ideally on that side, because then you can just go out the way you came in. But if you're stuck up here, this is the only way out. So if someone knows you're up here, they're probably going to wait to see if you come out. But moving into here, we have 2 spawns down here, and a graphics card can actually spawn under this desk. So that is why the building is so contested. We're going to drop the fleece here. We're going to take the helix, and I'm going to leave behind the power cord for now and see what we have in here. Another power cord and caps. So what I'm going to do is drop that and take one of the cords for now. Again, this is easier to do if you know how much things are worth at the time of your recording. In this corner of the room here, there's a spawn, and we've got a bottle of vodka in it in this case, so we're going to get rid of some stuff. I don't know all the weapon parts prices. That might actually be worth more than what this vodka is. But obviously, that's the chance that you take. You either know the weapon part prices or you're taking a gamble. So some good stuff there. We will take the medicine. Healing item is always good to top up on. Things can spawn in the shelves in here, and don't forget to check these little metal containers. You can sometimes find keys hidden inside them. Item spawns on these desks, and a jacket in the corner of the room here, and that's this room. Moving through here, you've got 1 jacket in this bathroom. And again, there's no harm in checking a jacket because you could get a good key. Weapon spawns, not weapon spawns, sorry, technical spawns here, and a crate underneath. The wrench, not worth okay. Technical spawns down here on these shelves as well, and sometimes up here. These shelves here can have technical spawns. We've got a screwdriver there, and there's a crate here. So, cyclones can spawn in these containers. They can sometimes loose spawn as well. A couple of the spots that we're passing, when I'm saying that things can spawn here and pointing, a few of the spots are gas spawns. So they're definitely worth checking as you go along, because even if it's not gas that's there, it's normally something decent. Gas spawns are kind of down right now in the wipe, but I'm not looking to top up on health supplies right now. I might forego some of the loot to take it if I was. Obviously, this is offline anyway, so it doesn't matter. But if you're looking for the money, I wouldn't take more than 1 health item in. So, again, be cautious when leaving the building. I'm just walking down just now. Remember, this is an offline raid. Leaving it's always a good idea to be very cautious when leaving this building. Coming over here, if you are looking for flash drives, then in the actual flash drive slots of either of these PCs, there's a chance for a flash drive, as well as within the actual computers themselves, you can get not in this case, and not in this case either. If it's not in either of them or on either of them, also check just in the bottom of the van here, because they can spawn in here. It's not a guarantee, as we saw this time, but if you're trying to get them for quests or anything, this is a good place. Also, like I said, things like circuit boards and RAM sticks are worth a decent amount for their slot count at this stage in the wipe that I'm at. Obviously, the prices of the items will vary, but The van's worth hitting up. Be cautious though, because the building over here, Sniper Stav, can spawn on top of it, and if he is sitting up there and you're in the back of the van, he's gonna take shots at you. So we move around here, and I don't typically go through the doors. You should be able to jump up onto these barrels instead, make your way in through the back. Now, coming into this building, you're going to want to check here on these pallets. There's a spawn. You can get gas and other technical stuff there. Here, you can get water filters spawn in this building. Here, along here, as well as the white tubing can spawn. The back of the van, there's also spawns. Here we go. There's a bandage there. There's other medical spawns in the back of this van as well. And if you go to the back of the building, on the floor here, you can get water filters spawn on the floor, as well as motors. There's one here. They're not worth as much just now, so I'm probably not going to take over the stuff I do already have. And here we go. Fuel spawns here. This is what we were looking for. So at the point where you're finding something like this, you're going to start dumping things that are less valuable and making sure that you make space for the likes of this. So fuses aren't worth as much. We're going to put them up there. And you want to be as quick as you can with this. In a live raid, you're not going to want to hang around for too long. So, I mean, right now, fuel's worth in the realms of like 300k. So that's a massive hit to the run right there, what we've just found. There's also some containers in the back corner of the building. I don't normally hit the containers in there because they're not normally worth it. This is a choice you can make to drop down into here while you're doing the run. Secret stashes are really a hit and a miss, and I find that most of the time when I'm running customs, the secret stashes really just aren't on par with some of the other map stashes. So I'll quite often forgo them. We're going to make our way along through the yard and head to power, because we need power on for extraction. So in through this door here, take an immediate left and flick the switch. And our exfil is now up and running. And while we're in this building, safest way to head over to the corners through the building rather than up through the open yard where there's nowhere to hide. Plus, you get a jacket here. And spawns here along the bottom shelf and along this shelf. You can get things like cyclones and stuff that spawn in here. I will typically then make my way down here, and quite a lot of the time when I'm doing a run, there's a gold chain sitting here as just a loose spawn. You've got the big container, which again, weapon parts. We've got water filter here, so I'm gonna drop the power cord, because scopes and lenses and anything like that typically sell well. We've got another vodka here, so even though they sell well, I'm going to drop the screw nuts, make space, and take that. And a bag here as well. Now again, very dependent on what stage you are at the wipe, but even if you're not taking it to sell, quite often corrugated hose, very useful for stash upgrading. Not stash specifically, the hideout upgrade, sorry. So definitely keep an eye out there. On the bed as well, there's a medical spawn, so get some stuff from there. Head over to where the light is shining, just on this wall. There's a loose spawn on this chair, so I've got a CMS kit right there. And there's also a medical container here. Morphine. Again, quest item, so, you know, worth picking up, because this run doesn't actually involve going to Crack House, which is a good spot for morphine as well. Oh. So heading up here, weapon parts. If you go in there and under the stairs, there's a weapons crate, and then up on top there are tables you can go to if you're needing weapon parts. I don't normally take them on the run that I'm doing. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of taking weapon parts because they really are a hit or a miss. There's ones that you know are going to be worth money, but I don't like to just randomly pick things up. On these barrows and around them, there are spawns for gas, but they are very rare. I haven't seen them quite some time from the runs I've been doing. So when we get out here, we're gonna head up. Now, if this was a live run, you'd have to watch here for PMCs making their way in this direction. Here and here for scavs. Anywhere in the actual station itself, watch the door. Watch this area here for people coming from the other side of the map. If everything seems clear, I'll drop down. You're going to want to make your way over this open area relatively quickly. Careful for around about here and the far corner in case there's a scav behind the building that's heard you approaching. And you're going to come in and right here, so we've got a magazine in this case, and here we've got another magazine and a small Tushonka, which again, good quest item, but don't come here as a consistent spawn for it because like I said, this desk is the one I was talking about when I said basically anything can spawn on this desk. You can get some really good stuff here, or this is an example, some pretty trash stuff. From here, we're going to move on. I would typically just jump through the fence here. And just be cautious. People do camp in these corners here near the gate. And obviously in the back if they're trying to loot stuff. But you're going to grab this bag. And bearing in mind if we're not looting 1013, this area here is the last part of the map that we are in fact going to loot before we extract. So check underneath this tree. You get weapon parts, meds, a lot of other things spawn just under this tree next to here. Also worth coming over here and having a quick look at the stash. So there we go. Bitcoin, obviously a fairly rare thing to appear. We got pretty lucky on that one. In a secret stash, but it is something that can spawn in a secret stash, so keep that in mind. From here, you're going to want to make your way up to the gate, head through, and even if you're going to loot the place or not, you're going to crawl under the train, or this is what I do in the majority of cases. Careful, because you can get stuck on certain parts. Now, you're going to come down here, and from around about here, you'll normally have a good idea from the doors if scav boss is here. There will be scavs going about, but don't take it as gospel. If you see no scavs near the doors, that does not mean he's not there. Now, I said if you were full and you didn't want to take a fight, you'd go a certain way. This is the way. You would run down immediately over here. This is your extraction. If you didn't know where the 1013 extraction was, this is the door. Obviously, you need to unlock it, which takes the factory exit key. It's a 50 use key. It's not that expensive, so if you haven't found one, you can buy one off the flea. Open that up, and if you walk in next to the door, you'll extract. If you do, however, want to take a fight or you think there's no one about, obviously when you're coming in, if I head back over, you're coming in here, you can either go in and up those stairs I just took, or when you're making a run for it, you can try and run for this door here. Keep an eye out. And here when you come in, and this opening here is where I typically bump into scavs. But once you are in, heading through here and to this back room, there's a lot of crates and a lot of loot that sit in this room. So we'll have a quick look. You've got meds box, some stuff in it here, case on the table, large case next to it, even larger case next to that, sodium's going for an okay price just now, but we'll leave that there. There's this box here, which sometimes goes overlooked. So take a weapon, and this is what I was talking about in a case where you're going to come across things that are just more valuable, and you know they're more valuable. Scopes. Typically, as a weapon part, I will take scopes. Scopes tend to sell. Same as silencers. If I find one of those, disregardless of the gun, because I don't know which gun silencers sell the best, but silencers or scopes, things I will take. On these shelves here as well, you can get loose spawns, as well as these shelves here. Heading out. Oh. Jackets as well, sorry. Quest item, but not really worth anything if we're going in for a money run. Things can spawn on this table, mostly food items, I think, and drink. But from here, you probably want to head round here and have a look in this room. Now, you can get food items and stuff on the bed here. There's a bottle of water. You can get stuff on this sofa in here. Not bad. Loose spawns here. Another bottle of vodka. I think things spawn on these beds. Don't quote me on that, but I believe there are some items on there. I don't see them often, but I don't always come in here, though I normally have enough stuff from the rest of the run. But here goes some more weapon parts. I think the Archangel stock for the Mosey is a pretty good part, so even if you don't plan to sell it, you might want to use it. And if you still think that it's relatively quiet, or you think you're relatively safe, then you can head up to the top. Just be aware that scavs spawn up here as well. There's scavs can spawn around about this area here, here, and they can shoot down. So just be aware of that as well. They will shoot down from up here rather than coming down to confront you. Oh, sorry. This container here. So matches are actually selling well just now. Nothing in there. I think loose spawns can appear on here. Then we're going to cross over. You've got a medical container here. Be careful, because obviously from below you can get shot while looting this, depending on the angle you take it from. If you lie down in front of it, then you're probably okay. We've got loose spawns here. Just 2 magazines in this case. Loose spawns here. Normally ammunition. And I would say that in terms of 1013 Fortress, that is about as much as I would head round and loot. Those are the main points. The 2 rooms downstairs being the big money makers if you get lucky with the crate spawns. And then once you've done that, you can just head down this set of stairs all the way down to the bottom, and you're back at your exfil. So if we look at this here, we've got the Bitcoin, it's worth about 400,000, fuel 300,000. 700,000k right there, and then 20,000, 20,000, 60,000, 20,000, 20,000, 20,000. So that's how much did I say for? That's 800k. The skeletonized items can go for a lot. Could be another 100k there. Could be 900k there. In total. Plus that, so you're looking at between 800 and 1 million from that run right there. That's not even including, the gun sales, if you make those sales, and some other small bits and pieces. So there's change in it, but you're looking at around about 800 to 1 million that we've done in a single run of it there. And you're not always going to get as lucky with the fuel spawn and the Bitcoin. Obviously, that's inflated the price of this run by a decent amount. But nevertheless, even without those 2 items, taking off like 700 of that, you're making, that 200 to 400 with the other items that we would have dropped to pick up the fuel added back into the mix. So you're making pretty consistent money from doing a run like this. and there's not too many hotspots. You're exfil in one building, and if you're really worried about the building with the graphics card, just forgo it. Don't go into the building if you don't feel comfortable potentially running into PMCs, because that's where it will happen. But like I said, that was the offline run, so we'll throw a live run in after this just to show you how I would treat it if I was actually in with scavs and PMCs and, you know, the chance of death, not just looking for loot and running around like that. Okay, so spawned in, and this is actually a very good spawn. We've spawned next to the military checkpoint, so we're on the right side of the map. It was one of the ones I circled in the beginning of the video. From here, we're going to immediately head down into this direction. We'll have a quick look at the container in here just to see if there's anything worthwhile. And over on the crate inside here, there's also loose spawns. That's some kind of a gun part. I'll leave it up there because we'll maybe keep it. It just depends what we find. Doesn't look like it's something that would be worth a lot, but as I've said previous in the video, I don't really know that much about the spawn prices for gun parts. Things can sometimes spawn in the back of this van, so sometimes worth having a quick look. There's a stash in the back corner of the map over there. I don't normally hit that, but feel free to if you would like to do it in your run. You don't have to copy this exactly. So, similar to the last time, we're heading over towards this building here. And this is where we'll start our looting of the run. We've got scav. It's right next to the building there. He might come to us if we're lucky. In the meantime, have a look in here. Thermostat. Now, between the running of this and the offline run I did, I actually looked back on it and saw that there were things that I missed in the run that were worth a decent amount of money. So the run really does have a lot of good loot in it. For example, right next to where we found the motor and the fuel in that video, in the previous run in the recording, if you look back, I walked straight past a water filter. That's a good 100k right there, on top of everything else we made. So really do pay attention to those loose loot spawns. There's some very good stuff to be had. Situations like this are where the headset can come in quite useful for coming in, because we know for a fact right now there's a scav just outside this building. With the sword in, I have a better chance of hearing his movements. I'm going to assume that that was the scav. It may not have been. always try to check the pockets of scavs. If you don't have time to check anything else, have a quick look. You have a good chance of keys, or you know, if you're exceedingly lucky, key cards and stuff spawning within the pockets. I think it's just the rain. I thought I heard someone. I need to fix this arm up in case we come into contact with anyone else. This is why we take the medicine in, even when we're doing these money runs. Some of these buildings, you're just inherently, you're going to come across people. Other people that know about the loot spawns are trying to get here as quick as they can, just like we are. And if we didn't have the hemostat, that would have been the run finished, because that bleed would have taken us. We did hear live fire over in this direction, so we're just going to be a bit cautious, because there could have been a bit of a contest for this building with a way to go into. Like I said before, it is quite a highly contested area. It looks like someone has potentially already been in here. I would still go up and check in many cases, simply because it could have been a scav that opened the door. And that's why we always check, because if we hadn't, then that's a golden Rolex that it would have just been overlooked. Now, in a situation like this, where I've just got an item like that, which is very good, I'm not going to check the graphics card side of the building, because I don't want to get stuck. Someone knowing I'm up there, you know, just waiting. Don't know where he is, so gonna run back to cover. Think he was at the hole in the wall. We'll just try and bypass him completely. And like I said, in the offline run, I was going to every single spot, showing you where things like can be, loose spots, containers. When you're in a live run, that's not going to be the case. You're not going to hit up every single spot along the path, because if you find some good stuff, you can't just hit it all up uncontested. You're going to come into fights. So if you get something that you're more than happy with, and you think, I would be happy with the profit I'm going to get out with, then don't worry about trying to make a beeline for an exfil. Just double check those exfils. Yeah, so 013 is going to be our exfil for this run. So around about here, I missed a water filter in the offline run. So just keep an eye out, because it's easily done. There's probably a couple of other things that I completely overlooked in the run as well. The rain tricking me into thinking that there's someone creeping around. So like I said, in a live raid situation, this yard can have scavs in it, so we've just got to be aware of that. Earlier in a raid, you're going to want to be careful about this building too. Not a raid, earlier in a wipe, because there's a quest with the unknown key that involves heading to that area. We're gonna go and make sure that the power. So no one's turned the power on. The door's open, but again, door open doesn't mean a player's been here. Could be a scav. We're not gonna hit every area that we hit in the offline raid. However, we're just gonna head straight underground. And here's a gold chain right there. We'll take that part. The other parts might be worth more. I'm not entirely sure. It's a suppressor, so I typically go with them. The bed doesn't have... Oh, no, the bed did have a spawn. Hemostat. Ours has 2 uses. I'm just going to swap them out so that I've got a full one back. Continue on to the box. Doesn't look like we have anything on the chair this time, but painkillers and meds. We'll throw meds in just now. Could we get replaced? We'll just see what else we find. So after the graphics card room, this next part of the run is your most risky, as you can hear. That sounded particularly close. Let's see what we're working with here. Clear. Get yourself up here. Okay. So, again, in this situation, I am not going to go and check the gas station for stuff on the table, because for this run, I'm pretty happy with the loot I have. I'm not going to hang around in an area like this. This is a trafficked area, the gas station and this bit at the back. People are crossing from one side of the map to the other in this area, so I'm going to forgo all of that for my current take, and we're going to head straight for exfil in this situation. So we've actually done this in quite a short period of time. You have to bear in mind that depending on the loot that you pick up, you will exceed the XP limit for found in raid. If you're not sure if you have or you don't want to take the risk, I would find a safe spot to just hide and wait out the timer. You need to be in a raid for at least 10 minutes if you haven't met the XP requirement. But we should be fine in this case, so we're just going to close that off, and that's the run. As you can see, it goes by a lot quicker in a live raid situation. I'm not willing to hang around in spots nearly as long. I'm not willing to go and look at every single container, every single loose spot. You're going to spend more time until you find some of the stuff that you're really happy with. If we didn't find the roller, for example, in that run, we might have hit up a couple more spots that we showed off in the offline raid. Finding that changed our run. We found the stuff that was going to make us money, and we chose to hit up a couple of key points along the way. But besides that, just get out. You've made the money that you want. You don't need to find stuff to make $1 million every run you do. If you find something good, get it out, reset, sell the stuff you have, and then head back in. You can go back in as many times as you need to make the money, so don't be afraid to leave earlier if you have good stuff. What we're going to do right now is I'm going to go and make the sale on all these things. I don't keep any money inside my... all my money stays inside the money case, so I will sell everything just now, and it should appear here, and we'll just give a sum total for that run and see how we did. and I'll cut back once the sales have been made. So after selling off all of that stuff, obviously depending on how much stuff you want to keep, you might find things that are quest related, hideout upgrade related. You'll keep a hold of those things, so you're deducting that off of the ruble profit of the run, but still profit. I haven't sold either of the weapons that I received from the run, but without that, 960,000 rubles and change from a single run, and we were barely in that run for 10 minutes. So the run works and it makes you money. There are runs where you're going to find the rarer items, and there are runs where the rare items won't spawn, but a couple of mid-range stuff will spawn. You could get a couple of water filters out on the run instead of the Rolex, and that's still going to make you good money along with the rest of the stuff you find. So definitely worth trying the run out. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below how you get on with the run, if it helped you make some money, helped you buy the stuff that you wanted. And don't forget to check out my Twitch channel, where I do a lot of different runs on Tarkov. I run quests, I just do runs with friends and take suggestions from the chat, all that stuff. And I stream other games as well besides Tarkov. So yeah, pop in by and check me out, and join the Discord and the socials to know when I'm live and when new YouTube videos come up. And if you like this, give it a like, subscribe, and let me know if you want more. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.